Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, DeChaney, Dutton, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Semidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee. Mr. President, we are absent a quorum.
Members, we are lacking a quorum. Will the sergeants please call the absent members to the Senate floor? Senator Dutton, you're recognized at your desk.
Yeah, I just want to, because we're waiting for other members to show up, and I hope that, driving in here this morning as I was driving down the 99, I couldn't help but notice a great deal of dove flying across the highways. And today is the dove season opener, and I just want everybody to know there is a tremendous sacrifice that some of us are making to be here today, and so it'd be nice if the rest of our colleagues could get here so we could commence the work, because
Senator Dutton, well noted. You do know, Senator Dutton, that and Senator Hollingsworth both know that true dove hunters start at 5 a.m. So you had plenty of time prior to this to begin the process. We have a quorum now, members.
Here, I wanted to be.
Will the Secretary please call the roll to establish a quorum, and then we will begin.
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, Corbett, Correa, Cox, Denham, DeSaulnier, DeChaney, Dutton, Flores, Hancock, Harmon, Hollingsworth, Huff, Kehoe, Leno, Liu, Lowenthal, Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, Price, Romero, Runner, Semidian, Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, Weiland, Yee. Mr. President, the quorum is present.
Members, a quorum is present. Will the members and guests beyond the rail in the gallery please rise? We'll be led in prayer this morning by our guest chaplain and wonderful senator, Senator Benoit. After which, please remain standing. We'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag by Senator in that wonderful green tie. If you would lead us in the flag salute, Senator Cox, that would be wonderful. So let's go ahead and have Senator Benoit.
Colleagues and friends, 160 years ago today, at 12 o'clock noon, on Saturday, September the 1st, 1849, a group of our predecessors met. They convened 48 delegates in Colton Hall in the town of Monterey. 43 days later, this group engrossed the first Constitution of the great state of California. In many ways, those of us gathered here today in the Senate are similar to those who created this great state. Lawyers, ranchers, merchants, military men, printers, surveyors, a banker. They came from varied backgrounds and many different places, far and near. They came together, as we do today, under the watchful eye of a benevolent Creator, with the primary objective of providing a wonderful place to raise their families and to prosper in freedom. Dear God, please lead us today in our efforts to continue the work begun by our predecessors. Grant that we may be as successful as they were in your eyes, the eyes of those we serve today, in the eyes of those who will surely follow us. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Members, privileges of the floor. Seeing and hearing none, members, we will start at where we left off yesterday. Senator Harman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd request that file item 382, SB 449, be removed from the special consent calendar.
Without objection. Senator Benoit.
Mr. President, at the author's request, please remove AB 322 from the inactive file.
Without objection. Members, any other privileges of the floor? Seeing and hearing none, we're going to move on to and begin today where we left off, as mentioned, on file item 277, AB 945. Is there an author for this particular measure? Seeing there's not, let's move on to the next item. Item 278. Senator Grady McLeod, not at her desk. Item 279. Senator Strickland. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 1020 by Assemblymember Emerson, an act relating to swimming pools.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this bill is really clarifying federal laws to help protect children from swimming pool accidents. Swimming pool and drowning is the #1 cause of deaths for young toddlers, and this will help prevent a lot of unnecessary drowning, and so therefore I ask your aye vote on this important measure.
Thank you, Senator Strickland. Any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, Huff, aye. Kehoe, Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price,
Okay.
Romero, Runner, aye. Simidian, Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee. Okay. Correa, aye. Duchesne, aye. Kehoe, aye. Benoit, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Wiggins, aye. Simidian, aye. Ashburn, aye. Mr. President, ayes 28, no 0.
Ayes 28, no 0. The measure is passed. Members, let's go back to item 278. Senator Grady McLeod, AB 1005. Would the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1005 by Assemblymember Block, an act relating to accountants.
Thank you, Mr. President. AB 1005 requires more transparency over the California Board of Accountancy by requiring a live audio or video broadcast of their board meetings, posting the minutes of the board meetings on their website, and notice of any formal accusations filed by the board against the licensee and where to go to get the further information. We have entrusted the California Board of Accountancy responsibility for licensing and regulating CPAs. This trust comes with responsibilities, and one of them is to inform the public on what goes on board meetings and what decisions are made. This can be done only through increasing transparency. CPAs play a very important role in their importance is increasing every day. There is no known opposition, and the bill is supported by the California Board of Accountancy. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, no. Benoit, no. Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, no. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, no. Denham, no. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, aye. Dutton, no. Flores, aye. Hancock, Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, Romero, Runner, no. Simidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Walters, no. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, no. Yee. Mr. President, ayes 15, noes 12.
You want to call the absent members?
Onnested, Alquist, Calderon, aye. Cedillo, DeSaulnier, Hancock, Hollingsworth, Liu, Maldonado, Oropesa, Price, Romero, Yee.
Senator Grady McLeod moves the call. Members, let's move on to item 280 by Senator Tirico. Is there an author? Item 281, Mr. Della Torre. Is there an author? Item 282 by Mr. Price. Assemblymember Price. Is Senator Price taking this item up? Okay, we'll move on to item 283. Ms. Corbett. Not at her desk. File item 284. Mr. Huffman. Is there an author? File item 285. Senator Cogdill recognizes his desk. Would the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1249 by Assemblymember Galgiani, an act relating to animals and making an appropriation therefore.
Thank you, Mr. President. AB 1249 was introduced as a result of the 2006 heat wave that killed a record number of livestock and overwhelmed the state's rendering capacity. Although the state veterinarian was able to address that emergency by authorizing the temporary disposal of carcasses in landfills, it is not clear that this authority would be valid in all emergency situations. Therefore, to ensure that the state can appropriately handle future emergencies, AB 1249 will establish clear authority for the state veterinarian to declare a local, state, or federal emergency when there are capacity issues at licensed rendering plants. Additionally, the bill would extend the sunset date on the state's program to monitor and register kitchen grease haulers. The bill has received unanimous support and there's been no opposition. I respectfully request an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, aye. Benoit, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, aye. Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, aye. Semidian, Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Semidian, aye. Mr. President.
Ayes 32, no 0. The measure is passed. Item 286. With amendments pending. Item 287. Senator Wright, would you like to take up Assemblymember Swanson's item? Pass on file. 288, Committee of Health. No author. 289, Committee on Rev and Tax. Any authors for that? No authors. File item 290, Committee on Rev and Tax. No author. File item 291, Assemblymember Fuentes. No author. File item 292, Committee on Labor. Senator Leno, you're recognized at your desk. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1561 by the Assembly Committee on Labor and Employment, an act relating to employment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, in recent months, you may have heard there's concern expressed about penalties which have been assessed against employers by DOSH, the Division of Occupational Safety and Health. Some groups and members of this body have expressed concern that penalties cited by DOSH are dramatically reduced through the appellate process when an employer appeals a citation to the OSHA Appeals Board. What this bill does is requires that the Division of Occupational Safety and Health and the Appeals Board on an annual basis to analyze what happens to penalty citations throughout the appellate process. This report will provide the legislature and interested parties with a comprehensive analysis of what happens to these penalties, how much they are reduced through the process, and why. Basic information that I think will benefit all of us in our decision-making process. I would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Leno. Any discussion or debate? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, Benoit, no. Calderon, Cedillo, Cogdill, no. Corbett, aye. Correa, Cox, no. Denham, no. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, aye. Dutton, no. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, no. Huff, no. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, no. Semidian, aye. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, no. Walters, no. Wiggins, Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Calderon, aye. Ashburn, no. Correa, aye. Mr. President, ayes 20, noes 12.
Senator Leno moves a call. File item 293. Senator Wright for Assemblymember Mendoza. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1266 by Assemblymember Mendoza, an act relating to forest practices.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is an important bill that passed the policy committees in this House, and I'd certainly like to say thank you to Ms. Pavley for allowing this bill to get to the floor. As we were discussing yesterday some of the fires, as we were discussing yesterday some of the fires in California, in some measure, forest fires are a natural occurrence, but in some measure, we allow forests to overgrow by not managing them, and there's not enough water, and the trees are not healthy. We in California probably have more board feet of lumber destroyed by fire than any other region in the country. It tends to make our lumber more expensive. We're currently importing 80% of the lumber that we use here in California. This bill seeks to provide some measure of relief for those companies involved in the timber business. We just lost 500 jobs this year with Sierra Pacific closed a sawmill here in California, not far from here. Simply put, the bill allows for a couple of extra years on the timber harvest plan as prepared. It lowers cost, and it does have opposition. I don't want to suggest that it does not have opposition, but this is sound policy for California, and I think we could even do more in this area to better manage our forests. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Senator Weiland.
Mr. President, members, I'd just like to point out that as someone who was in the business for many years of supplying lumber to the homes and apartments that many of us live in, that what was once a robust industry, the Pacific Northwest begins not that far north of San Francisco. We probably bought, and most lumber in California 25 years ago, probably 50, 60, sometimes 70% was produced within this state. Now, as Senator Wright has pointed out, that industry has virtually vanished. That material, that lumber, is now manufactured in Oregon, it's manufactured in Washington, British Columbia. It's really a tragedy, the thousands of jobs that have been lost. It's been devastating to that part of this state, and it was unnecessary. If you look at a timber harvesting plan in a state like Oregon or Washington, which arguably have pretty stringent environmental controls, you might see something that's, 10, 20 pages. In California, a typical harvesting plan might be 100 pages. And that's what's driven some of the last big timber and lumber producer, Sierra Pacific. It's closing down its operations over time in California. That's just a fact. It's one we ought to consider, and this is a minor effort to allow those who remain to have an opportunity to harvest lumber in a responsible way.
Senator Cogdell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise in strong support of this legislation. This is a small step, I think, in the right direction. The comments of Senator Wright and Senator Weiland are certainly right on relating to the negative impacts that have been imposed upon the timber industry of the state for years now. In Senator Cox's district last year, the plant in Quincy closed, costing us about 150 jobs. And just a few weeks ago, the plant in Sonora closed down, and that'll cost close to 300 well-paying jobs in an area that cannot afford, quite frankly, to lose any more jobs of any kind. This bill, again, is a modest, I think, step in the right direction to allow the extension of timber harvest plans. Doesn't cost the state any money, and again, it's the kind of thing that we should be doing and should be doing a lot more of. I strongly, again, support the legislation and ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Cogdale. Members, any more debate or discussion on this? Seeing and hearing none, Senator Wright, you may close.
I'd ask for an aye vote, Mr. President.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, aye. Benoit, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, no. Correa, aye. Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, aye. Dutton, aye. Flores, Hancock, no. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, Leno, no. Liu, Lowenthal, no. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, aye. Smidian, no. Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, no. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee. Yee, no. Mr. President, ayes 24, no 7.
Ayes 24.
Kehoe, no.
Ayes 24, noes 8. The measure is passed. Members, file item 294. Is there a jockey for this item? Seeing and hearing none. File item 295 by Assemblymember Portantino. Senator Leno, would you like to take that item up? AB 221, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 221 by Assemblymember Portantino, an act relating to public health and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Leno.
Excuse me, I'm passing on this. I thought we were at 297. My mistake.
Okay, we'll pass on file. File item 296, Assemblymember Liu's bill. Senator Lowenthal's a jockey. Okay, let's go ahead and pass on file. Senator Leno, back on 297. AB 1397 by Assemblymember Hill. It is a 2/3 vote. You may present. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1397 by Assemblymember Hill, an act relating to tissue donation and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Leno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, you may remember 2 years ago, we all, in a near unanimous fashion, supported SB 443, which created a fashion for a couple, one of which in the couple is HIV positive to be able to start a family in a very safe fashion. This bill allows for the greater facilitation of the intent of SB 443. It is cleanup language and has passed off the Assembly floor and the Senate Health Committee in unanimous fashion. I would ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, aye. Benoit, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, aye. Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, aye. Smidian, Steinberg, aye. Smidian, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, Yee. Yee, aye. Mr. President, ayes 31.
Ayes 31, noes none. The measure is passed. File item 298 by Assemblymember Hayashi. Senator Calderon Sajaki. Pass on file. File item 299 by Senator Harmon. Is recognized at his desk. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 839 by Assemblymember Emerson, an act relating to Medi-Cal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, currently when a Medi-Cal provider wants to appeal the denial of a claim for reimbursement, the law states that the provider may seek appropriate judicial remedies. It's a rather generalized term that's currently in the statute. This bill will change that and take this rather vague language out of the statute. As a result, providers that do follow that, they file various different types of actions for reimbursement that are unsuitable and therefore cause delays in the court system. By specifying that the appropriate legal remedy is a writ of mandate, this bill will make the appeals process more friendly and easier to follow for Medi-Cal providers and will create a speedy and equitable remedy for claims against the state. I respectfully ask for your aye vote. This bill has received no votes.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, Alquist, Ashburn, aye. Benoit, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, DeChaney, aye. Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, aye. Samidian, Steinberg, aye. Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, aye. Wolk, aye. Wright, aye. Wyland, aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Mr. President, ayes 32, no 0.
Ayes 32, no 0. The measure is passed. File item 300, Assemblymember Emerson, Senator DeChaney. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 318 by Assemblymember Emerson, an act relating to vehicles.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. This bill is a cleanup to legislation that was passed and signed last year, authorizing the Department of Motor Vehicles to administer a one-time vehicle registration amnesty program expected to bring over $300 million to the state for vehicle owners who had previously registered their cars incorrectly. This would allow BAR to charge owners of specially constructed vehicles participating in this program a fee for the referee station inspection that may be necessary to bring those cars into smog compliance. The original legislation required everybody to pay their back fees and such in order to take advantage of it. This will allow, per the administration's request, for BAR to collect the fees necessary to administer the smog inspection portion of the program. Ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Members, any objection to substituting the unanimous roll? Seeing, hearing none, ayes 33, noes 0. Measure is passed. File item 301, no author. File item 302, Assemblymember Blumenfield, Senator Alquist carrying. Pass on file. File item 303, Assemblymember Block, Senator Alquist is carrying. Pass on file. File item 304, Assemblymember Furtani, Senator Wolk is carrying. Pass on file. File item 305, Senator Denham. Pass on file. File item 306, Senator Anastat. Pass on file. File item 307, Senator Corbett, ACR 85, which pass on file. Pass on file. File item 308 by Assemblymember Adams. Pass on file. File item 309. Pass on file. File item 310. Pass on file. File item 311. Mr. Ruskin. Pass on file. File item 312 by Mr. Portantino. Pass on file. Senator Denham. Recognized at his desk. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 644 by Assemblymember Caballero, an act relating to transportation.
Senator Denham.
Mr. President, members, AB 644 is the Monterey Salinas Transit District Act. This bill will convert the Monterey Salinas Transit Agency from a joint powers transportation authority into a transportation district. It will also allow the newly converted transit district to seek alternative ways to fund its transit system, including issuing bonds and the opportunity to appeal to local voters for funding. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing a substitute roll call? Senator Ashburn, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Cox, aye. Correa, aye. Runner, aye. Kehoe, aye. Onnested, no. Mr. President, ayes 25. Padilla, aye. Ayes 26.
Ayes 26, noes 5. The measure is passed. The resolution is adopted. Members, going back to the file item 313. Senator Luce carrying a measure, not at her desk. File item 314, pass on file. File item 315, pass on file. File item 316, Senator Padilla, the Committee on Labor and Employment, AB 1563. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1563 by the Assembly Committee on Labor and Employment, an act relating to employment.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this bill will simply codify a current enforcement protocol used by the Labor Commissioner to ensure that Labor Code Section 2810 is properly enforced. Specifically, it would prohibit a person or entity from entering into a contract or agreement for labor services when the person, the contractor, knows that there's insufficient funds in the contract to cover all applicable labor laws. It's currently the protocol. This is simply codifying it. Ask for your aye vote.
Senator Runner, recognized at his desk. Senator Runner? Okay. Okay. Members, any more debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Flores?
Aye.
Aye. Hancock? Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? No. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee. Yee, aye. Mr. President.
Can you please call the absent members?
Alquist. Ashburn. No. Cedillo. Correa. Aye. Denham. No. DeSaulnier. Dutton. No. Hancock. Aye. Liu. Oropesa. Romero. Steinberg.
Senator Padilla moves the call. File item 317, Senator Runner. Assemblymember Ma's bill. Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 543 by Assemblymember Ma, an act relating to perinatal care and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Runner.
Thank you, Mr. President. AB 543 is a bill that will extend the sunset date another 5 years for the Nurse Family Partnership Program. The pilot program expired January 1st, 2009 because it hadn't yet hit the dollar amount needed for the private donations to have the Director of Finance authorize the implementation. The Nurse Family Partnership Bill, established by my bill, SB 1596 in 2006, matches a nurse with a first-time low-income mother starting in the first trimester pregnancy going through the 2 years of the child's life on a voluntary basis. Because the program hasn't raised the $500,000 required for the setup, it has raised a good portion of that and has commitments to go well over that from private donors. This needs to be extended in order for this program to go forward. I'd ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Runner. Any discussion or debate by members of the Senate? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? DeCheney? Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Calderon, aye. Ashburn, no to aye. Correa, aye. Mr. President, ayes 32, noes 1.
Ayes 32, no 1. The measure is passed. Members, let's go on to file 318. Pass on file 319. Pass on file 320. Pass on file 321. Committee on Water, Parks, and Wildlife. Senator Pavley, would you like to take this up? File item 321. Yes. Will the Secretary please read
Sure.
AB 1442.
Assembly Bill 1442 by the Assembly Committee on Water, Parks, and Wildlife, an act relating to natural resources.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, AB 1442 has not received any no votes and passed out of the Senate Policy and Fiscal Committees unanimously. It's an omnibus committee bill by the Assembly Water, Parks, and Wildlife Committee. The bill makes several changes to update the Fish and Game Code and to facilitate Department of Fish and Game's enforcement of the law. Specifically, it would authorize reciprocal agreements with other states bordering California to facilitate fish and game enforcement. It will authorize the issuance of voluntary warden stamps and commemorative licenses to support wildlife conservation and fish and game wardens. It will also authorize county officials to take animals involved in disease outbreaks as approved by Department of Fish and Game, and several other technical changes. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing a substitute roll call?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Seeing, hearing none. Ayes. Senator Hollingsworth? Please call the roll. Okay, Secretary, please call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. Dusanier? Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Mr. President, ayes. Correa, aye. Mr. President, ayes 34, noes 0.
Ayes 34, noes 0. The measure is passed.
So you take the end of that.
File item 322, Senator Semidian. And members, Senator Semidian has this item and two other items he would like to take up since he was presiding yesterday on the floor. So, Senator Semidian, you want to give us the numbers of those items so the desk can prepare for those two?
Thank you, Mr. President. Following file item 322, I would appreciate the opportunity to present on file item 229 and 244.
Without objection, Senator Semidian, you may present on item 322, AB 708 by Assemblyman Huffman. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 708 by Assemblymember Huffman, an act relating to fish and wildlife.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this measure addresses the growing problem of poaching, both fish and wildlife. The fines are small. There are no minimum fines in many instances, and enforcement, given our current state budget, is unfortunately low. All of that provides an unfortunate incentive for the commercialization of poaching. Mr. Huffman has addressed this issue by establishing certain minimum fines, focusing those fines at the illegal commercialization of this process, and allowing DFG to permanently revoke the license of a person convicted of one of these violations. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing the substitute roll? Seeing and hearing none. Ayes 33, no 0. The measure is passed. Senator Semidian, your next item.
Thank you, Mr. President. On file item 229.
Members, let me re-announce that. Ayes 35, no 0. Senator Semidian, you may present on your next bill, please. The item number?
File item 229. If we wait another couple of minutes, can we get another couple of votes on the bills? The last one, sir? Is that? No. All right. File item 229, sir.
Senator Semidian, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 796 by Assemblymember Carter, an act relating to pupils.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, a fairly simple and straightforward measure which would add participation in civic engagement activities to the current list of activities for which students can be given an excused absence from school. During the course of the debate on this, members, there were a couple of issues raised, suggestions that, to her credit, Assemblymember Carter took. So as amended, the bill now responds to the discussion in the Policy Committee and provides a definition for civic engagement activities, so we know what is and isn't allowed. The measure also now is amended, states that, quote, a pupil shall not be excused from school when the absence is due to participation in a demonstration or a political campaign. That has been specifically excluded from the definitions of civic activity. This is simply a good way to allow participation in certain education civic engagement activities without penalizing either the student or the school. I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? Dusanier? Denham, no. Ducheney? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal?
Aye.
Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price?
Aye.
Aye. Romero? Runner? Semidian?
Aye.
Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Wiggins, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Alquist? Calderon? DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Liu? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Romero? Runner? Runner, no. Calderon, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Alquist, DeSaulnier, Liu, Oropesa, Romero.
Senator Semidian moves a call. Senator Semidian, your next item.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is file item 244.
Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 975 by Assemblymember Fong, an act relating to water.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is a measure simply designed to facilitate the use of water meters by providing more flexibility to the California Public Utilities Commission. It deals with the installation of water meters and encourages water conservation by providing a homeowner or the business owner with an accurate amount of how much water they consume. Largely updates the procedure to conform to actions that the legislature and the state have taken in previous years. To my knowledge, there's no opposition on the file, and I would respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Okay. Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing the substitute roll call? There is. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Maldonado, no.
Senator Semidian moves a call. Members, let's go back to the file. File item 323, Senator Strickland. For Assembly Member Nava, AB 242. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 242 by Assemblymember Nava, an act relating to crimes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, AB 242 increases the penalties associated with spectatorship at a dogfight. This measure has bipartisan support and no votes. Ask for your aye vote.
Okay. Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing a prior roll call on this? Substitute roll call? Okay. Please call the roll. Secretary, please call the roll.
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Ducheney? No. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Semidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Semidian, aye. Calderon, aye. Mr. President, ayes 29, noes 1.
Ayes 29, noes 1. The measure is passed. File item 324, Senator Hancock, not at her desk. File item 325, pass on file. File item 326 by Assemblywoman Buchanan, Senator Corbett, pass on file. File item 327, pass on file. File item 328, pass on file. File item 329, pass on file. File item 330. Senator Cox, will the Secretary please read AB 1006?
Assembly Bill 1006 by Assemblymember Buchanan, an act relating to state buildings.
Mr. President, members, AB 1006 is a bill that requires a Department of General Services to consider the location of the population served and the residential location of the majority of the workforce when planning for the lease, construction, or acquisition of a new state building. Members, this bill has bipartisan support in all committees as well as on the Assembly floor. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Dusanier? Denham, aye. Ducheney? Dutton? No. Flores?
Aye.
Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Harmon, aye. Runner, no. Ducheney, aye.
Ayes 22, noes 10. The measures passed. File item 331, Senator Wolk, AB 1052. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1052 by Assemblymember Caballero, an act relating to sport fishing.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill now has bipartisan support and is supported by the fishing groups. This concerns the Bay Delta Sport Fishing Enhancement Stamp and is introduced by Assemblymember Caballero. 1052 will require the Department of Fish and Game to implement the recommendations that were made by the state auditor in his 2008 audit and enacts new spending reforms that will ensure better accountability by the DFG. Since the implementation of this stamp, only $1.6 million of the $8.6 million has been spent. As a result, 1052 will allow the Advisory Committee to continue advising DFG on projects and budgets for the benefit of the sport fisheries and its tributaries until the surplus is reduced. The anglers and sport fishing groups supported this self-imposed voluntary stamp, which would address the issues in the Bay Delta estuary. And they continue to be charged for the stamp, and they still support it, even though the funds have not been spent rapidly. The audit raised these issues, and this bill is an attempt to change, to reform that process. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Mr. President, ayes 32.
Ayes 32, noes 1. The measure is passed. File item 332, Senator Pavley, Committee on Health. Pass on file. File item 333, pass on file. File item 334, Assemblymember Wolk. There are amendments pending at the desk. File item 335, pass on file. File item 336, Senator McGrady McLeod, pass on file. File item 337, Senator Yee, pass on file. File item 338, Senator Padilla for Assemblymember Fuentes, and Senator Padilla, you have another item right after this.
Yes, I'd like to pass on file 338, but 325 is ready to take up.
325. Will the Secretary please read file item 325?
Assembly Bill 1390 by Assemblymember Blumenfield, an act relating to school safety.
So thank you, Mr. President. Members, AB 1390 would require school principals to report specified crimes to the city police or county sheriff who has jurisdiction over the school, as well as the school security department. It's a confusing issue in some areas of the state, particularly in urban areas where there may be, for example, a school police department underneath that school district, separate and apart from the local county sheriff's office or the local police department of that city, therefore making it unclear who the appropriate authority to report crimes to is. So this bill would sort of clarify that, making sure that the city police department or the county sheriff's department also receives the information on crimes that could just lead to better, not just crime solving, but crime prevention, as well as interagency public safety collaborations. It's received significant bipartisan support in both houses. I ask for your aye vote.
Senator Benoit, you're recognized at your desk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I've looked at this from the perspective of the Vice Chair, also from a law enforcement professional and a school board member, and I can assure my members this is a good piece of legislation that clarifies the requirements for reporting incidents on the school grounds. I urge an aye vote.
Great. Members, any more discussion or debate on this item? Seeing and hearing none, is there any objection to utilizing a prior roll call? Unanimous roll calls. Ayes 35, noes 0. The measure is passed. Members, let's move on to item 339. Is there Senator Leno for Assemblymember Jones, AB 119? Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 119 by Assemblymember Jones, an act relating to health care coverage.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, in just the past couple of years, there's been a new phenomenon in the individual health insurance market. What occurs with this phenomenon is that women are charged more for their health premiums than men for the identical health care plan. Now, the industry and committee had stated that the reason for this is that these differences in premium costs are based on actuarial data. Except in a National Women's Law Center report issued last year, it was identified that in some cases there is actually no difference in the premium costs. In other cases, there's a 5 or 10% difference in costs, and in some cases, it's over 140% difference. So these numbers seem quite arbitrary, based on anything but actuarial data. In the individual health insurance market, we have banned this kind of discrimination based on race, color, national origin, ancestry, religion, marital status, or sexual orientation. And in any number of these cases, when we debated the removal of this discriminatory practice, the industry said the same thing. It's based on actuarial data, and we must do this. Our state and the federal government has banned this kind of gender discrimination in group policies many decades ago, and 10 other states have already ended this discriminatory practice in the individual market. I think it's time that California does the same. Access to health care saves lives, and of course, affordability of health insurance should not be determined by gender. I would ask for your aye vote.
Yeah, Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing, hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? DeCheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee aye. Correa aye. Calderon aye. Mr. President, ayes 20, noes 13.
Please call the absent members.
Alquist, DeSaulnier, Liu, Oropesa, Romero, Runner, Steinberg.
Senator Leno moves a call. Members, we're going to go back to file item 337 carried by Senator Yee. Will the Secretary please read file item 337?
Assembly Joint Resolution 10 by Assemblymember Torlakson relative to Social Security.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. This resolution supports a bipartisan effort in Congress to repeal two unfair Social Security pension offsets that penalize teachers, firefighters, law enforcement, and other public servants. The two penalties, the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offsets, are robbing our dedicated teachers and public servants from retirement they have earned throughout their lives. The penalties are not only robbing our teachers, but they're also robbing our students from teachers who would otherwise choose a career in education. So this really is an important measure to provide for the mainstay of our teaching force and other public servants in the years to come. With that, I urge and I vote. There have been no votes, and this is supported by a slew of bipartisan co-authors. Urge and I vote.
Okay. Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing a prior roll call? There is. Please call the roll.
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Weiland, aye. Mr. President,
Ayes 25, noes 8. The measure is passed. Thank you, Senator Weiland. Members, file item 340 by Mr. Furutani. Senator Liu, not at her desk. File item 341. Senator Wolk. Will the Secretary please read AB 1228?
Assembly Bill 1228 by Assemblymember Yamada, an act relating to elections.
Thank you, Mr. President. 1228 will allow the counties of Yolo and Santa Clara to conduct up to 3 all-mail ballot elections for local elections as part of a pilot program to sunset in 2016. This pilot program will look at turnout, the level of turnout, along with a host of other issues like cost, the number of ballots not counted and why, and any other problems encountered during the election. The information gathered in the study is to be reported to the legislature and to the Secretary of State in order to inform future policy decisions of the legislature as we look for new and innovative solutions to the issues of cost and turnout in an election. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon?
Normally texting down here.
Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Senator?
Please call the absent members.
Alquist? Cedillo? DeSaulnier? Liu? Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Romero? Runner? Steinberg? Mr. President, aye.
Senator Wilk moves the call. File item 342, pass on file. File item 343, pass on file. File item 344, Senator Padilla is the manager. AB 1012, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1012 by Assemblymember Manuel Perez, An act relating to broadband services and declaring the urge thereof to take effect immediately.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this bill simply requires the Office of the Chief Information Officer, the CIO, to establish a strategy for the state of California to maximize federal funds available through both the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act and the Broadband Data Improvement Act that are intentioned to build out broadband connectivity, literacy programs, and projects throughout the country. The contents of the bill are consistent with the work that's already been done both through the PUC, which is designated to access and administer the economic stimulus dollars, as well as the Emerging Technology Fund that has done the basic research, including helping provide the information necessary for the recently released Broadband Task Force report. There's been workshops held to garner input from a number of stakeholders, but a comprehensive strategy to maximize the amount of money we can get from the federal government is needed. This bill would accomplish that. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Aye. Calderon. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Cox. Aye. Denham. DeSaulnier. Denham. Aye. DeChaney. Aye. Dutton. Aye. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Aye. Hollingsworth. Aye. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price. Aye. Romero. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Weiland. Aye. Yee. Aye. Correa. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Price. Aye.
Ayes 33, no 0. The measure is passed. File item 345, Senator Huff, caring for Ms. Brownlee. Pass on file. File item 346, Senator Lowenthal, Committee on Transportation. Pass on file. File item 347, pass on file. File item 348, pass Senator Calderon, for Assemblymember Calderon. Pass on file. File item 349, Senator Price. Pass on file. File item 350, pass on file. File item 351, Senator Strickland for Ms. Huber. Pass on file. File item 352, Senator Pavley for Mr. DeLeon. AB 789. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 789 by Assemblymember DeLeon, an act relating to search warrants.
Senator Pavley.
Thank you very much, Mr. President and members. AB 789 is sponsored by the LA County District Attorney's Office and the LA County Sheriff Department. Passed Senate Public Safety 6-0 and the Assembly 78-0. Currently, California law prohibits a person who is the subject of a domestic violence protective order from owning, possessing, purchasing, or receiving any firearm while the protective order is in effect. Unfortunately, while the law mandates that law enforcement officials take custody of any firearm from individuals who are subject of a domestic violence protective order, the law fails to provide law enforcement with the authority to obtain a search warrant to carry out these obligations. This bill simply solves this problem by authorizing a court to issue a search warrant to take custody of any firearms from individuals who are the subject of a domestic violence protective order. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Any objection to utilizing a unanimous substitute roll call? Secretary, please call the roll.
Onnested. Alquist. Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Calderon. I, Cedillo. I, Cogdill. I, Corbett. I, Correa. Cox. I, Denham. I, DeSaulnier. Duchesne. Dutton. Flores. I, Hancock. I, Harmon. I, Hollingsworth. Huff. I, Kehoe. I, Leno. I, Liu. Lowenthal. I, Maldonado. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Padilla. I, Pavley. I, Price. Romero. Runner. Smidian. I, Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. I, Wiggins. I, Wolk. I, Wright. I, no. Weiland. I, Yee. Yee, I. Correa, I. Hollingsworth, no. Duchesne, no. Maldonado, no. I. Benoit, I. Negrete McLeod, no.
Ayes 25.
Wright, no. Dutton, no. Onnested, no. Mr. President, ayes 25.
Ayes 25, noes 6. The measure is passed. File item 353, pass on file. File item 354. Senator Pavley, AB 532 for Assembly Member Liu. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 532 by Assembly Member Liu, an act relating to search warrants.
Senator Pavley.
Yes, members. This is a companion measure to the last bill we just voted on. It passed our Senate Public Safety by a 6-0 vote and off the Assembly for 75-0. It's supported by the State Sheriff Association and PORAC, among others. AB 532 is a simple measure that will enable law enforcement to apply for a search warrant to temporarily seize firearms under current law. AB 532 will protect victims of domestic violence and individuals who present a danger to themselves and others because of mental health issues. The inability of law enforcement to remove firearms and other deadly weapons from the scene of a domestic violence incident or from individuals who pose an immediate danger to themselves places many individuals at risk. AB 532 will help reduce this risk by providing law enforcement officers with the authority to constitutionally seize firearms and other deadly weapons in these types of situations. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested. Alquist. Ashburn. Benoit. I, Calderon. I, Cedillo. I, Cogdill. I, Corbett. I, Correa. Cox. I, Denham. I, DeSaulnier. Duchesne. No. Dutton. Flores. I, Hancock. I, Harmon. I, Huff. Hollingsworth. No. Kehoe. I, Leno. I, Liu. Lowenthal. I, Maldonado. I, Negrete McLeod. No. Oropesa. Padilla. I, Pavley. I, Price. I, Romero. Runner. Smidian. I, Steinberg. Strickland. Walters. I, Wiggins. I, Wolk. I, Wright. Weiland. I, Yee. Yee, I. Ashburn, no. Wright, no. Onnested, no.
Ayes 24, noes 6. The measure passes. File item 355 by Assembly Member Nava. Senator Corbett, at her desk. Will the Secretary please read AB 471?
Assembly Bill 471 by Assembly Member Nava, an act relating to legal services.
Senator Corbett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've just got word from the author. They would request that we move to this bill to inactive at the request of the author.
Okay. Without objection. Thank you, Senator Corbett. File item 356, Senator Wright by Ms. Evans. Pass on file. File item 357, Senator Ducheney by Assemblymember Block. AB 628. Would you like to take this up, Senator Ducheney? Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 628 by Assemblymember Block, an act relating to vehicles.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, this bill would clarify how toll operators in California can implement a program known as pay by plate. It would allow them, rather than it being a large fine, to actually, when somebody misses paying their toll, going through a toll road entrance, to photograph the license plate and bill them later, rather than the current procedure, which really treats it as a fine and is much more excessive. It would allow folks without Fast Track who mistakenly go through the toll or don't have the cash at the time to be able to pay later by being billed by the toll agency. It gives discretion to the local toll agencies to figure out exactly how to do it. There is no opposition. They would have to do it in coordination with Department of Motor Vehicles and the CHPS for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Cedillo? Cogdill? Cedillo, aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? No. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Semidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Onnested? Aye. Correa? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Runner? Aye.
Ayes 31, noes 2. The measure is passed. Members, file item 358 by Assemblymember Ma. Senator Maldonado is taking up AB 606. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 606 by Assemblymember Ma, an act relating to agriculture and making an appropriation therefore.
Senator Maldonado.
Mr. President and members, AB 606 will create the California Blueberry Commission, modeled after other successful commodity commissions in California. The commission will be funded solely by farmers themselves, and there will be no general fund cost.
Senator Maldonado, any more debate or discussion on this item? Is there any objection to utilizing a prior roll call? Secretary, please read.
Onnested? Alquist? Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? Flores, I. Hancock, Harmon, no. Hollingsworth, no. Huff, no. Kehoe, I. Leno, I. Liu, Lowenthal, I. Maldonado, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Oropesa, Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Romero, Runner, Smidian, I. Steinberg, Strickland, Walters, no. Wiggins, I. Wolk, I. Wright, Weiland, Yee. Yee, I.
Please call the absent members.
Onnested, no. Alquist, Benoit, Desaunier, Dutton, no. Hancock, no. Liu, Oropesa, Romero, Runner, no. Steinberg, Strickland, no. Wright, I. Weiland, no. Ducheney, aye to no.
Senator Maldonado moves a call. Members, we're on file item 359 by Assemblymember De Leon. Mr. Strickland, would you like to take up this item? File item 359, AB 281. Pass on file. File item 360, pass on file. File item 361, pass on file. File item 362 by Assembly Member Nava. Senator Pavley, would you like to take this resolution up? Pass on file. File item 363 by Assemblymember Lowenthal. Will Senator Wolk would like to take this up? AB 762, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 762 by Assemblymember Bonnie Lowenthal, an act relating to residential care facilities.
Senator Wolk.
Thank you, Mr. President. 8 years ago, when bedridden individuals were first allowed into residential care facilities, the clear intent was to help more people live in the community. The reality has been a struggle to keep residents in their own homes, even though they're allowed to do so under current law. The legislature's good intentions created serious conflict and confusion with community care licensing regulations, statutes, and fire marshal application of building codes, resulting in the threatened forced relocation of RCFE residents who reached the point of being non-ambulatory or bedridden. This bill takes a step towards resolution by clarifying the appropriate fire safety requirements for non-ambulatory residents in residential care facilities for the elderly. Facilities that serve bedridden individuals already meet strict requirements for the health and safety of the residents. This bill does not weaken those safety standards, but simply provides guidance to regulators by specifying the appropriate fire safety precautions for non-ambulatory residents. There is no opposition. I ask for your aye vote.
Pro Tempson, this one is good to go now.
Okay. You want to take it up?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, I. Alquist, I. Ashburn, I. Benoit, I. Calderon, I. Cedillo, I. Cogdill, I. Corbett, I. Correa, Cox, I. Denham, Desaunier, Ducheney, Dutton, Flores, I. Hancock, I. Harmon, I. Hollingsworth, I. Huff, I. Kehoe, I. Leno, I. Liu, Lowenthal, I. Maldonado, I. Negrete McLeod, I. Oropesa, Padilla, I. Pavley, I. Price, I. Romero, Runner, I. Smidian, Steinberg, Strickland, I. Walters, I. Wiggins, I. Wolk, Wright, I. Weiland, I. Yee. Yee, I. Denham, I. Dutton, aye. Semidian, aye.
Ayes 32, noes 0. The measure is passed. File item 364, pass on file. File item 365, Senator Benoit for Assemblywoman Fuller, pass on file. File item 366, Senator Leno for Assemblywoman Brownlee, pass on file. File item 367, Senator Correa, not at his desk. File item 368, Senator Strickland. Will the Secretary please read AB 428?
Assembly Bill 428 by Assemblymember Fletcher, an act relating to criminal history records.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, AB 428 gives the Department of Justice the authority to respond to background checks for foreign adoptee purposes. This bill will ensure background checks include prospective parents' complete criminal history and creates a more consistent foreign minor adoption process for prospective parents. SB 428 is sponsored by the Attorney General, has no opposition, has received no votes. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Strickland. Any debate or discussion on this item? Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, aye. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, Cox, aye. Denham, aye. DeSaulnier, Duchesne, Dutton, aye. Flores, aye. Hancock, Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, aye. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, aye. Oropesa, Padilla, aye. Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, aye. Semidian, aye. Steinberg, Strickland, aye. Walters, aye. Wiggins, Wolk, Wright, aye. Weiland, aye. Yee, aye. Duchesne, aye. Hancock, aye. Cedillo, aye.
Ayes 31, no 0. The measure passes. Senator Correa, you're recognized at your desk.
67.
Okay, Senator Correa would like to return back to file item 367. I want the members to also know we'll be returning back to an item that Senator Negrete McLeod has and also Senator Pavley. So let's go ahead and, Senator Correa, let's start with that item. Then we'll go back to the file and proceed through, and we'll begin again. Senator Correa, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 870 by Assemblymember Huber, an act relating to crime.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senators. This bill makes it a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in county jail to bring or to process a razor blade or box cutter upon the grounds of or within any private or public school providing instruction in kindergarten or any grades 1 through 12. I ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested, aye. Alquist, aye. Ashburn, Benoit, aye. Benoit, aye. Calderon, aye. Cedillo, aye. Cogdill, aye. Corbett, aye. Correa, aye. Cox, aye. Denham, DeSaulnier, Duchesne, no. Dutton, Flores, aye. Hancock, aye. Harmon, aye. Hollingsworth, no. Huff, aye. Kehoe, aye. Leno, aye. Liu, Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, aye. Negrete McLeod, no. Oropesa, Padilla, Pavley, aye. Price, aye. Romero, Runner, aye. Semidian, aye. Steinberg, Strickland, aye. Walters, Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? No. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Denham, aye. Ashburn? Aye.
Ayes 29, noes 4. The measure is passed. Members, we're going to slightly digress to go back to a few items for some members who are off the floor, and then we're going to proceed back to item 369. But let's start with Senator Negrete McLeod. Senator, the item number that you have
is, let me see. It's 241.
241. Will the Secretary please read item 241?
Assembly Bill 764 by Assemblymember Nava, an act relating to real estate brokers.
Senator Negrete McLeod.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, California homeowners facing foreclosure have become vulnerable to scams, con artists, and thieves. These predators charge fees which can reach several thousand dollars with the promise of a loan modification. Often, these predators provide loan modification service for an upfront fee. AB 764 is a well-rounded approach that will protect financially distressed homeowners by prohibiting the collection of a fee until a loan has actually been modified. This bill contains a number of other provisions, including requiring those waiting to charge a fee for loan modifications to notify homeowners that loan modification service can be received for free through a HUD certified counseling agency or their lender, and by prohibiting advertisements from using the words, letters, initials, symbols, or other devices that are similar to those used by a governmental agency or a nonprofit entity. AB 764 also closes the loopholes to ensure that homeowners do not continue to be taken advantage of while trying to receive loan modifications. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Lowenthal, aye. Maldonado, no. Correa, aye. Mr. President, ayes 16, noes 15.
Senator Negrete McLeod moves the call. Senator Pavley, recognized for file item 221, AB 1369 by Assemblymember Davis. Will the Secretary please read? File item 221. Yes.
Assembly Bill 1369 by Assemblymember Davis, an act relating to home detention.
Thank you very much. Members, this bill is sponsored by the LA County Sheriff's Department and supported by Crime Victims United. It would expand the use of involuntary home detention programs at the county level. Under current law, county boards of supervisors may authorize the use of involuntary home detention programs for misdemeanors when there is a finding of overcrowding. AB 1369 would authorize counties to expand involuntary home detention to very low-risk felony cases thereby giving the sheriff additional flexibility, if needed, to maintain compliance with the population limits on the jail system imposed by a federal district court, while leaving room to house the most serious offenders. There is no opposition to this bill. It passed out of Senate Public Safety by a 7-0 vote. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion? Senator Duchesny, recognized at her desk.
Well, only the question of the author, perhaps, or I don't know if we need to put it over, but given that everybody's supporting this, and this has been a program that's been ongoing, I'm wondering if the author considered expanding it to include the Secretary of Corrections and not just local sheriffs.
Oops.
Senator Pavley.
I'm not sure how to answer that because I'm not the author.
Concerned because the Assembly, who passed this bill apparently with overwhelming support, has refused to consider doing that for Corrections Department and giving the Director of Corrections and the Secretary the same kind of discretion they're proposing to give to the Sheriff, which I support.
Yeah, it was passed off the Assembly floor 79-0. So.
Senator Pavley, do you want to close? I'm
yes,
sorry.
Just that the
Senator Pavley, excuse me, I'm sorry. Senator Renner, I didn't see your microphone.
Question to the author. Could the difference be between what's happening in a county level and a state level is that you're dealing with those primarily, well, actually all of them, in a county level that weren't sent to state prison. Therefore, most of them are either very low felonies or misdemeanors. And so they're very different than those who would be wrapped up in the other discussion in regards to corrections dealing with the issue of house arrest. Could that be the difference?
Well, I think, according to you, that probably could be the difference.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. And that's probably why Crime Victims United is supporting this measure.
Senator Duchesny.
I thought you said it was low-risk felons.
Yes, Crime Victims
That would be the same low-risk felons as the Secretary in last week's measure proposed to be able to have alternative home detention.
These are people in the county jail system. Ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion? Seeing, hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchesny? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? No. Wiggins? Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa? No. Harmon, aye. Wiggins, aye. Mr. President, ayes 25, noes 7.
Ayes 25, noes.
Onnested, no.
8.
Thank you.
The measure is passed. Members, we're going to go now to Senator Cedillo, who has Senator Cedillo. Can you give us your items to take up?
Yes, 320.
3-2. The vote is closed. Senator Cedillo is recognized in the next item. Okay, Senator Duchesny moves reconsideration. Is there any objection to substitute in previous roll call? Unanimous roll call?
Is there objection? If there's objection, you have to call the roll.
Members, we're going to call the roll on Senator Duchesny's request for reconsideration. Secretary, please call the roll. This is on reconsideration, members. Members, this is on reconsideration. Will the Secretary please call the roll? Senator Duchenne is asking for an aye vote. And Senator Kehoe is recognized at her desk.
Mr. Chairman, after speaking to Senator Duchenne, I'll consent to the previous roll call on the reconsideration.
Senator Kehoe withholds her objection to the utilization of a prior roll call. Reconsideration is granted. Ayes 36, noes 0. Reconsideration is granted. Senator Cedillo, you're recognized at your desk for your item. Can you get the file item?
Yes, file item 320.
320. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 99 by Assemblymember De Leon, an act relating to second-hand goods.
Members, this matter is abundantly less controversial than the previous matter. 2004, the Congress passed and the President signed legislation which encouraged financial institutions to recognize Matricula Consular as an ID for the purposes of providing financial services and integrating immigrants coming from abroad into our financial and economic system. This bill for California seeks to embrace the vote of the 2004 Congress and the President and to join over 1,100 police departments, 33 states, 163 counties, and 377 cities in recognizing the Matricula Consular as an ID, and one for which not only banks but others who use second-hand pawned shops can also use for identification. I ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdell? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchenne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Weiland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Ashburn? No. Padilla? Aye. Maldonado? Aye.
Ayes 22, noes 13. The measure is passed. Senator Cedillo, have any other items at this point? Senator Alquist, recognized at her desk for a few items. So, Senator Alquist, just give us the file item number, and then we will...
Yes, there are two file items, 302 and 327.
302. So let's, if the Secretary could please read 302. Item 3.
Assembly Bill 472 by Assemblymember Blumenfield, an act relating to earthquake and emergency preparedness.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. AB 472 would promote public awareness and encourage disaster preparedness planning by requiring that state entities that publish websites must prominently display on their homepage a link to information regarding earthquake safety and other emergency preparedness measures. Last year, over 5 million Californians participated in the Great California Shakeout that tested our preparedness for an earthquake catastrophe in Southern California. Most people do not have survival kits or other emergency preparedness procedures in place in their homes. Government must do a better job providing our citizens with emergency preparedness recommendations and the Internet is one of the best ways to make the information available for all. The bill has no opposition, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Alquist. Any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Huff? Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Wolk? Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Yee, aye. Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Aye. Huff? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye.
Ayes 32, noes 2. The measure is passed. Senator Alquist, on your next item.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. AB 517.
I'm sorry, Senator Alquist. Let's
I'm sorry.
go ahead and, Secretary, please read.
Assembly Bill 517 by Assemblymember Ma, an act relating to body art.
Senator Alquist.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. AB 517, the Safe Body Art Act of 2009, establishes statewide standards for the regulation on the business of tattooing, body piercing, and the application of permanent cosmetics in California. The measure will help protect both body art consumers and practitioners and will provide local authorities an effective avenue for enforcing these standards by requiring practitioners to utilize single-use and or sterilized tools to be trained on bloodborne pathogens such as HIV and hepatitis. In addition, it requires that all body art facilities acquire a permit to operate with specific requirements for qualification. Individual partitions will also be needed to register with local jurisdictions. I ask for your aye vote.
Any debate or discussion on this item, members? Seeing hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? No. Semidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Benoit? No. Cogdill? No. DeSaulnier? Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Liu? Maldonado? Oropesa? Romero? Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Strickland, no.
Please call the absent members.
DeSaulnier? Liu? Maldonado? Oropesa? Romero, Steinberg.
Senator Alquist moves the call. Senator Price, we had two items that you would like to take up. Let's take up file item 230. If we could first. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 136 by Assemblymember Silva, an act relating to horse racing and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. Current law limits the total number of harness or quarter horse races that may be imported through satellite broadcasting each year. AB 136 deletes this limitation, thereby increasing the revenue available to fund the California Horse Racing Board and the Kenneth Maddie Analytical Laboratory at UC Davis. Each of these entities stands to benefit from AB 136 as they both get a portion of each handle. For the above-mentioned reasons, I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing, hearing none, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested. Aye. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Aye. Benoit. Aye. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Aye. Corbett. Aye. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. Aye. Desaunier. DeCheney. Aye. Dutton. Flores. Aye. Hancock. Aye. Harmon. Hollingsworth. Huff. Aye. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Liu. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado. Aye. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Oropesa. Padilla. Aye. Pavley. Aye. Price.
Aye.
Aye. Romero. Runner. Smidian. Aye. Steinberg. Strickland. Aye. Walters. Aye. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Weiland. Aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Harmon, aye. Mr. President, ayes 32, noes 0.
Ayes 32, noes 0. The measure passes. Senator Price, you now have item 234.
Thank you, Mr. President.
And Senator Price, before you begin, members, what we're going to do is we're going to take this item up. We're going to proceed back on the file as we were on file item 369. And then after those 5 items, we're going to return back to the beginning of our file. So if you have any more items, we'll capture those as we return back to the beginning of the file. So Senator Price, do you want to take up file item 234? Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 57 by then Assemblymember Price, an act relating to health facilities.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here to present AB 57, a bill that would require the Department of Public Health to establish a procedure for the collection and review of written staffing plans for the University of California hospitals. Currently, the Department of Public Health is not required to review the methods or procedures used by hospitals for determining non-nurse professional and technical staff. Ensuring that we have adequate staffing plans in place at our public hospitals is critical to ensuring quality patient care. AB 57 would initiate a pilot program to evaluate safe hospital staffing levels at the 5 UC hospitals for all employees that provide direct patient care. However, these provisions would exclude registered nurses. The link between safe staffing levels and quality patient care is well established. The Department of Public Health has determined what safe staffing levels are for registered nurses, but not for other professional and technical staff, even though they provide direct patient care. While the cost of this measure is minimal, the cost of failing to take action to ensure safe staffing levels in our hospitals presents a greater consequence, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Great. Members, any debate or discussion on this? Senator Harmon.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. You know, this bill may have some merit to it, but the thing that's troubling to me about this bill is the procedural background where the bill was authored in the Assembly by Assemblyman Price. Is that correct?
Correct.
And, you know, I've been here 9 years in the legislature. I've had members twist my arm to support a bill or promise this or promise that or whatever. But I think this, Senator Price, goes beyond that. You would resign from the Assembly
and run for the Senate and get elected, spend thousands of dollars, I suppose, and thousands of hours to get over here just so you could author this bill and be the floor manager for your very own bill. And I'm just wondering, is it true that you asked all of the other senators to be a floor manager for this bill and they all turned it down? You had to do it yourself?
Well, several were a little hesitant, and so I thought it was proper for me to step up to the plate, run, jockey it, and here I am today. Thank you.
Well, I guess this sets the record, but we'll pass on it anyway. Go ahead.
Thank you. Senator
And
Price.
I know the author well.
Senator Price, you may close.
I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Members, will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. Desaunier? Ducheney? Aye. Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Lou? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye.
Please call the absent members.
Desaunier? Leno? Aye. Liu? Oropesa? Romero? Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Wolk?
Senator Price moves the call. Members returning back to the file item 369, pass on file item 370. Pass on file item 371 by Ms. Ma. Senator Padilla, will the Secretary please read AB 129?
Assembly Bill 129 by Assemblymember Ma, an act relating to taxation and declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this is AB 129, which will conform state law to federal law, thereby restoring privileged communication between a federally authorized tax practitioner and their client. Failure to conform prevents California taxpayers from benefiting from federal consumer protections in the 1998 Taxpayers Bill of Rights. This bill will ensure that tax representatives can successfully provide representation to their clients before the IRS as well as state taxing authorities. There's been no vote on this bill, bipartisan support, and I ask for a vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Aye. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. Desaunier? Ducheney? Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Lou? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee. Yee, aye. Duchesne, aye. Benoit, aye.
Ayes 32, no 0. The measure passes. Senator Padilla.
Or for purposes of amendments.
I'm sorry, Senator Padilla, can you please repeat that?
Request reconsideration of item 344 for purposes of amendments.
Okay, without objection. Members, we're going to return back to the... Without objections, ayes 36, no 0. Members, we're going to return back to the beginning of the file. We're going to start with file item 164. File 164, pass on file. File 165, Senator Cedillo. ACR 68. Would the Secretary please read?
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 68 by Assemblymember Davis relative to Public Service Recognition Week.
Senator Cedillo.
Members, let me ask that we act with urgency and with all due haste. ACR 68 designates the month of May as California Public Service Recognition Month. The American Society of Public Administrators and Public Employees await our action. And throughout the United States, have waited for us to take this action to recognize Public Service Recognition Week, which began in 1985. I urge you to act now, and with all due haste, let's give recognition to those who remain in our service and committed to providing all the great services of the state of California to the public. They deserve it. They deserve no less, and they deserve it now. I ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this? Is there any objection to utilizing a substitute roll call? Okay. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Aye. Cox? Aye. Denham? DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Dutton? Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Semidian? Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye. Wyland, aye. Semidian, aye. Mr. President?
Ayes 28, noes 1. The resolution is adopted. File item 166, pass on file. File item 167, pass on file. File item 168, pass on file. File item 169, pass on file. File item 170, Senator Corbett for Mr. Jones, pass on file. File item 171, Ms. Liu by Senator Padilla, AB 1185. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1185 by Assemblymember Liu, an act relating to birth certificates.
Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, current law allows a person born in California who has undergone sex reassignment surgery to petition the Superior Court to obtain a new birth certificate reflecting the change in gender and any associated name change. However, the law, as currently written, permits a petition for the issuance of a new birth certificate only in the county of residence for the petitioner. With this language, there's an arbitrary discrimination against transgender individuals who have moved out of the state of California because they no longer have residency in a county in the state. This bill would close the loophole by permitting individuals to petition a court in which he or she was born for the purposes of obtaining a new birth certificate. Ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing and hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? No. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? No. Denham? No. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? No. Hollingsworth? No. Huff? No. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? No. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Smidian? Steinberg? Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Aye. Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Correa, aye. Mr. President?
Senator Padilla moves the call. File item 172, Senator Wyland for Assemblymember Anderson. AB 66, will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 66 by Assemblymember Anderson, an act relating to schools.
Senator Wyland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, AB 66 simply updates the process by which high school students are granted work permits, allowing principals to evaluate and grant these permits. It makes it much easier in very large districts where only superintendents have been allowed to do this. It has received all aye votes during the process. I ask for your aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing, hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? Aye. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? Benoit? Aye. Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? Aye. Corbett? Aye. Correa? Cox? Aye. Denham? Aye. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Dutton? Aye. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Aye. Harmon? Aye. Hollingsworth? Aye. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Aye. Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Aye. Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? Aye. Smidian? Aye. Steinberg? Strickland? Aye. Walters? Aye. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? Aye. Yee? Can I?
Please call the absent members.
Ashburn? Correa? Aye. DeSaulnier? Duchesne? Aye. Liu? Oropesa? Pavley? Aye. Romero? Steinberg? Wolk? Yee? Yee, aye. Ashburn, aye.
Ayes 34, noes 0. The measure is passed. Thank you, Senator Wyland. File item 173, pass on file. File item 174, pass on file. File item 175, pass on file. File item 176, pass on file. File item 177, Senator Alquist, pass on file. File item 178, pass on file. File item 179, pass on file. File item 180, pass on file. File item 181, pass on file. File item 182, pass on file. 183, pass on file. 184, pass on file. 185, Senator Kehoe, pass on file. File 186, pass on file. 187, pass on file. 188, Senator Cedillo for Assembly Member Davis, AB 1363. Will the Secretary please read?
Assembly Bill 1363 by Assembly Member Davis, an act relating to concealed firearms.
Senator Cedillo.
Yes, members, this measure was created with the sole intent of closing a loophole in the concealed weapons law. Current law contains an overbroad exemption protecting carrying by licensed individuals. AB 1363 makes two reasonable changes to clarify existing law and put an end to this unreasonable conduct. First, it confirms that an open carrying license applies only in the county of issuance. And second, it qualifies exemption to the crime of carrying a loaded firearm to exempt license holders only when they are acting in accordance with terms of their licenses. This bill will clarify that an individual can only exercise their ability to carry a firearm open and loaded only in the county in which it was authorized, thus removing any remaining ambiguity regarding the law. This bill is carried by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I ask for an aye vote.
Members, any debate or discussion on this item? Seeing hearing none, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested? No. Alquist? Aye. Ashburn? No. Benoit? Calderon? Aye. Cedillo? Aye. Cogdill? No. Corbett? Aye. Correa? No. Cox? No. Denham? No. Dusanier? DeChaney? Dutton? No. Flores? Aye. Hancock? Harmon? Hollingsworth? No. Huff? Aye. Kehoe? Leno? Aye. Liu? Lowenthal? Aye. Maldonado? Aye. Negrete McLeod? Oropesa? Padilla? Aye. Pavley? Aye. Price? Aye. Romero? Runner? No. Semidian? Aye. Steinberg? Aye. Strickland? No. Walters? No. Wiggins? Aye. Wolk? Wright? Aye. Wyland? No. Yee? Yee, aye. Harmon, no. Benoit, no. Negrete McLeod, aye. Mr. President, ayes 18, noes 14.
Senator Cedillo moves the call. Senator Hollingsworth.
A Republican caucus, please.
Senator Hollingsworth has asked for a Republican caucus in the Hollingsworth Lounge.
It'll be in the coffee shop.
Republican caucus in room 305. Senator Hollingsworth is called for Republican caucus. Recess until 1 p.m.